Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Communication Masterclass, where we are going to be taking a deep dive into the topic of communication. Today, we are talking with Melissa Cohen. Melissa is a relationship coach, psychotherapist, and sought-after speaker. Her work is grounded in the belief that wellness is not just about eating right and exercising. Instead, she focuses on relationships with ourselves and each other, because healthy relationships are the greatest predictors of health, happiness, and longevity. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
the opportunity.
Good. It's great having you here. Well, let's start with just telling us a little bit about you and who you are and what you got going on in the world.
So I'm a therapist in private practice, and I've now incorporated coaching into that. The way I sort of explain the difference is that psychotherapy is really sort of present and past tense oriented, and it's a focus on healing something that is preventing you from moving forward. Whereas coaching is much more present and near future tense. It's much more action oriented, goal directed. So you take the insight from one and you bring it to the action of the other.
Yeah,
So
that description.
two sides of my practice.
Yeah.
And I've always worked with moms since the very beginning of my career, way before I was a mom, because I really deeply feel that, moms are sort of the bedrock of society. And that my first job ever when I was in graduate school, I thought I wanted to work with kids. And then I realized I have like half an hour a week with these kids at most. Like, I really need to work with the parents.
Yeah.
So it was, that didn't take me too long to figure out. And so, so I work with mothers and parents. And I think that that's sort of my one by one contribution to the world.
Yeah.
A better place by helping moms be better, feel better, and great at being a mom. And then they model for their children how to be a mom, and they model for their children what it's like to be in a healthy relationship, or to leave an unhealthy one.
Yeah. Wow.
That's sort of the why I'm here.
Why you're here. That's awesome. I love that. I have such a similar story of thinking I was going to work with kids, and spent one semester in a second grade classroom, like 8 hours a week. And I was like, no, no, thank you.
I was so young, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I'm just really going to help these kids. And I was like, oh, yeah, the parents never really got to be in on it with us.
Yes.
And so there was no partnership.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about communication. And we had talked before about the idea around like really how to communicate our needs clearly and ask for what we're wanting and needing. And I'm curious about your approach to that.
Yeah, I mean, my approach to that, when I look at people in the context of their relationships, I like to see what's working well for them and what really isn't working well.
Okay.
And then I like to take it back and look at their value system. Like, what do you really value? Do you value honesty? Do you value integrity? Do you value open-mindedness? There's a million different values. And what do you value? And what are you doing that's either in alignment or out of alignment with those values? Because usually when people have a hard time communicating, it's because they're not really clear on their values, and they're not really clear on what they want from the relationship. They want it to feel better, generally, but they're not. It's really hard to get your needs met when you're not real clear on what your needs are. And a lot of times what we do to ourselves is we do two things really. One is we wear masks, and the other is we have really crappy boundaries. And so that leads to a lot of not so good communication.
Yeah.
So, for me, the way to have authentic relationships is to first start with an authentic relationship to yourself. All of your relationships, a lot of the focus is on fitting in. Fitting in means that you walk into the room, you assess the situation, and you put on whatever mask you need to put on in order to fit in with that situation. And that leads to really shallow relationships. Like, you just don't just kind of impossible to get your needs met that way, because you're not being authentic. And so how can someone, meet your need if you're not being authentic about what your needs are? So if you're one of these women that walks around like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, but then you feel totally isolated and like that no one ever comes to help you. It's like, well, you told everybody you were fine.
Yes.
So, we kind of didn't know that you needed that you needed help.
Yeah.
So, and belonging doesn't require you to change who you are in order to be accepted into the relationship. Yeah. So you need to let your true self be seen, and that's when you make really great connections. And so that starts from, your friendships growing up to present tense. That starts from your dating life. If you're not authentic on the date, like, what is the point of that? I mean, I don't mean you need to like throw it all on the table at the first.
There's that too.
We have a deep desire to feel connected to people, and we can't do that when we're hidden. Yeah. We can't, we deserve to feel the richness of relationships. And so it really starts with that authentic connection to self. Yeah. And from that point, that's how you can get clearer and get your needs met. So
yeah, I had more than one conversation yesterday with clients about that idea of asking for or telling someone, and so many people going, I don't know what I need. And I'm curious what you do with that, when someone's just like, I don't know. I don't know what I need. Like, how do you guide them to find it?
So when they don't know what they need, I help them in terms of relationships. I ask them to start observing their relationships. And who are the relationships that when you either like get off the phone or get out of the meeting or whatever it is that you are like, just drained. And which are the ones that you feel energized afterward. And that's usually the first clue for people, is that if you walk into a situation and you're feeling fine and an hour later you feel crappy, something's wrong. Something's not
okay.
So that's a really good first place to start. And the other thing I ask them to look at is like, okay, what do I need from a relationship and what am I willing to give? And most people never think about that.
Yes.
They really never think to themselves like, what do I need and what am I willing to give? Because if you don't think about both sides of the coin, you're really not thinking about a relationship. You're thinking about your needs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
But, it's not starting from a place of understanding relation. It's not starting from a place of understanding connection. I've had many friendships in my life over this, the stages of my life, and some have stuck forever, and some have been like just people that come and go on that age and stage of your life. And a lot of what was happening is my needs would change. And so that would result in me sort of starting to feel like, wow, I feel really great with this group of women, and I feel like really like drained with this group of women. And so there's a way. It's not like you have to like cut off the toxic relationship. It's not that it was toxic. It was more that my energy was better directed elsewhere.
Okay.
So you can still maintain a relationship with them while knowing, I need to have, like, there were certain people that I'm like, I'm sure you've had this before, where like you think you're friends with someone, but they're really just using you for free therapy.
No, never. I decided to get the degree so I could start charging.
But so, I would start noticing in these relationships that like I would give and give and give. And then when I had a problem, it wasn't coming back. And so I had this false belief that a lot of people have, which is like, if I'm really good, I'm a good girl. I will give, and I give and I give and I give and I give, then naturally I will get it back. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
That's just That's just 100% not true. I mean, I know that's what we teach the kids in nursery school,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
as adults, that's really not true.
Yeah.
So I had to really start looking at my boundaries of, okay, well, I can hang out with this woman in a group,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't go out to coffee with her one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it's about thinking about who you feel good with and how to set appropriate boundaries around that. So like when I talk about boundary, what I mean is like it's this like invisible fence that we have around us to keep some people out and some people in. And I don't mean that to sound nasty. It's just a matter of having it so that you feel comfortable in your relationships.
Yeah.
A lot of what I find with people and what I learned myself is that I always knew my boundaries were out of whack when I started feeling resentful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so with all of my clients, when someone starts feeling resentful, it's like, okay, what the emergency brake? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you allowing?
Yeah. And I love Brene Brown has the best this definition. It's just what's okay, what's not okay with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I think that, every year I like start a little, not like a campaign, but awareness with my clients of like, let's put the no in November. Like, it's the holiday season. It's about to get crazy up in here. Like, what can you say no to? What can you limit so that you're not horribly fatigued by the time you get to the holiday and you sort of like hate everybody anyway? Or like every present you give your kid, you're thinking to yourself like, well, of course it's me. He doesn't even know what's in this gift because I have to do everything. Wow, for Christmas you're getting resentment in your stocking.
Yes.
So that to me also is I have people look at their energy and where are they feeling resentful. Yeah,
that's interesting. So it's like knowing what your values are as far as, and then knowing boundaries from that space. Is So what about, like, we've talked to you about like how to take ownership for our side. So, maybe even particular, like in your marriage or in a marriage or intimate relationship, like how do you teach clients how to take ownership? Because I hear it a lot and I, can maybe cop to like doing it myself where it's all exactly, where we go, okay, this is all them, it's been well trained, taught to me in the last couple of years, like, go back. So I'm curious how you talk with your clients about that.
Well, one of the biggest questions that I ask my clients, and they don't like it at first, I'm just going to be forthright with that, is, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I can't tell you how many people look at me like I have three heads because they're like, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. So, when we are wrong, we have the tendency, this is like all humans, welcome to being a human, it's not special. We attribute it to external factors. And so nobody wants to claim like a victim or martyrdom. But, if it's when someone else is wrong, we get to, be like, yes, that's on you. But when we're wrong, it invokes a really deep, like Brene Brown will tell you, a deep sense of shame.
Yes.
We don't always, it's hard for us to do that. We also, when we're looking at other people, we attribute it to their character. Whereas for us, we're like, there's a very good explanation. So like, I love the example of being late. I have a friend who is always late. She just leads a really chaotic life. And she's always late. And I know that she's always late, and that's fine. I don't think her lateness has anything to do with me. I don't think it's like she doesn't have her shit together, and I have my excuse my French, and I have my stuff together, and so I must be superior to her. It's like, no, she leads a really chaotic life. She's trying really hard. She's usually late. I just need to book into extra time. And that's fine. But I don't it doesn't have to be about this judgment of like right and wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's technically right to be on time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay. But I don't care about being right as much as I care about the relationship.
Yes.
And so I think that that's, you know, when I asked, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You know, I love this woman and I feel very sad for all of the chaos that she's going through that, you know, I can't fix it. And so I accept that about her.
Yeah.
So whereas some people would be like, oh, I'm like, well, yeah, it's because, you know, the garbage truck was blocking my driveway, or my husband like moved my keys last night and I couldn't find them. You know, they, and so much of this is this idea of like what we think is right. Like we have this belief that we have like a singular rightness, a singular, I mean, when I work with my couples, man, oh man, I'm like, there is no capital T truth.
Yes. That's good.
And so when we are wrong, we do not like it. And we would rather push that right out on the other person. And so what I tell, when people are really right, I ask them like, okay, so do you want the relationship?
Yeah.
That's a legitimate place to start, because if you are so right and that person is so wrong and it is like in permanent ink, why do you want to be in this relationship? Now listen, when it's a marriage, it's like, that's not a question, obviously, but in other situations it is. It's like, you know what? No, I don't want to go to lunch with her. I'll be fine seeing her out, but my time is valuable and I don't want to wait for her. So when people are really, you know, full of like righteous indignation, righteousness leads to contempt, and contempt is always toxic in relationships. There are always and nevers in the world. Contempt is always toxic to a relationship. You cannot have a healthy, thriving relationship with resentment.
Yeah.
And what happens is then you get resentful, and then you you turn a grievance, she's late, into a grudge. She's a crappy friend.
Yes.
And so, you know, I look at it as a grudge is sort of a grievance on life support. So imagine your grievance as something that it, you know, like a person that is living, you know, as a vegetable in a bed, you know, hooked up to a bunch of machines. And how much energy do you want to put into that relationship, keeping the grudge alive on artificial life support?
Wow.
Because if you're the one keeping it alive, with your energy. And so when people get like really emotionally reactive, and I can see it's turned into a grudge, it's very hard for people to understand. Oh, you mean I could just stop? I'm like, yeah, you could just stop. Yeah. You could just decide, well, I've been angry about this long enough, and now I can get to a decision point. Do I want to maintain the relationship or not? Do I need to sit down and have a conversation with this person of, you know, when you are late, it makes me feel devalued. And I don't think you know that that's what's happening on my end, because I know that you love me and you would never want me to feel devalued. And it's, you know, really more about your chaotic life. So, you know, that's where this combination of boundaries and knowing what you need, because a lot of people will sit there at the lunch table waiting for their friend and getting more and more and more angry, but they don't really know why. And if you can come to understand, like, oh, it's because I feel devalued. Yeah. You say that to the friend, they can at least apologize appropriately. Yeah. That might help you to feel better.
But if they show up late and you're like, oh, that's fine, no big deal, while you're steaming inside.
Yeah. No, she shows up late every single time. And every single time she's like, I am, you know, like, oh, I am so, so sorry. And I'm like, you are pre-forgiven for all lateness. Yeah. Like, I have no need for you to be on time. I have my book or my phone.
Yeah, you plan for it.
And I'm just going to sit here. Yeah. Like in a doctor's office where you're like, okay.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like turning it into something that becomes like a value to you. Like I would imagine you having 10, 15 minutes or however late she is to just sit and read your book in your life, like,
Right.
that's a win.
Right. Well, it's a win. And it took me a while to figure out that she was just going to be late, because she would apologize so profusely that I would think, wrongly, I would think, oh, well, she won't be late next time. And now I just know, like, no, she's just late. She's just like, she's way too much to do and is the only one in her family that can do it. I mean, she is just, it's not worth getting into, but, you know, she just has so many demands on her time that making it to the lunch is a serious accomplishment.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that, you know, when we look at it and we say, okay, what is really getting to me about this?
Yeah.
We can speak to it a lot better. But if you don't know your values, and if you also don't know if you're deserving of having boundaries, it's real hard to get to that point of saying, you know, I mean, with my couples, it's a very simple formula. It's, I feel blank about fill in the blank. I need blank, right? Super simple formula.
I feel blank about blank and I need
blank.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
It's really super simple, like a formula, like make couples put it up on their fridge.
Yeah.
You know, poor kids are like, but because it really is, it's a simple formula. It's not simple to get there.
Yes.
And it's, listen, when we're upset with other people, we devalue them and we think, okay, you're either ignorant, meaning I am more educated on this than you, and so that's why you don't understand how right I am. We think that they are idiots, meaning like you might even have the information, but that's what that thing is, that contempt of like, why are you not understanding that I'm right? I've explained it several times. You must be an idiot. I have one client that like her red flag word was moron.
Like if she heard herself say that?
That was the thing that we had the intervention for her. If she heard herself say moron, she had to stop and pause and really look at what was going on. Because, I mean, granted, there are a lot of not so smart people out there, but not everyone in your life is a moron. If you think everyone in your life is a moron, you're just angry all the time, right?
Well, and it's who's the common denominator there.
And the third thing is that we think they're malicious. We think they're distorting the truth for their own like nefarious gain. And so when we think they're being malicious, that's when we really dig in and fight. If someone is just uneducated, you try to educate them. If someone is an idiot, you kind of are just mad that they're not understanding how right you are and how wrong they are. But if you think they're malicious, you're going to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know who said it, but it's never a tribute to malice, what could better be attributed to simple human frailty. Most human beings, we're just frail.
We are. We're just kind of
we're just really winging it and trying so hard.
Yes.
But we're really kind of frail. And that's why we disappoint people. We're not trying to be malicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just kind of like, well, I didn't have it today.
Just, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. This idea of like, we could have more compassion, I think, for ourselves. We could probably offer more up to other people, you know, but like what the things you were saying around like malicious or, you know, the moron, you know, the intelligence piece, all this outward focus on blame, like is how I like, and then it's like, well, wait, again, who's the common denominator here? What do I need to do differently?
Well, right. Why does there need to?
Why do I need to be right? Yeah.
Perspective, which is mine, because the world must be as I see it, because I'm super special. You know, it's like the ego behind it, and I know most people who are hurting don't think of it this way because they feel that they've been wronged. But the ego behind the idea of your way of seeing things is the only way of seeing things is an incredible position to take.
Yeah.
It's why I often do this little exercise with people. I'm like, go like this, audience, go like this. So you go like this, and I say, what do you see? And they say, like, so I'll do, like, I see the computer, I can see my coffee cup over there, see some papers that need to be filed over there. And then I say, go like this. Now I see so much more, right?
Yeah.
Now you see so much more?
Yeah, it goes much broader.
Like, I see, like, the closet door over there didn't exactly get closed. Like, oh, my backpack's down there. And so it's this, you're still looking at the exact same thing. You didn't look elsewhere. You just went from this to this. And once you understand, oh my God, I have the power to just go like this.
Yes.
My choice. I'm in complete control. I can either look at the broader picture and accept that there's probably a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
Or I can just stay like this and be like, yeah, nothing else exists besides, like, basically, 5 people past the end of my nose.
My rightness.
My rightness. That's it's not, they don't even necessarily always realize it's their desire to be right as much as they just think it's the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's the truth as they see it.
I love the idea of this woman you talked about with, like, moron word being her red flag, and, pausing, which I talk about all the time, of like this idea, if we could just pause for a sec after, and then what you just said is to be able to just pause, take a breath, and go, okay, what's a different perspective right now? And then what do I need? And
and what might be going on that I have no idea about. And maybe I should.
What might they need? Yes.
Right. What and not, if you can't even get to what might they need, which is fine, because some of that's none of your business. But it is sort of like, why does judging them serve? Like, does judging them make them more likely to hear what I have to say?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah.
People feel judged. They don't want to hang out with you. They really don't. They'll, not return the phone call.
Yeah.
Why would you want to hang out with a person like that?
Yeah.
And so to me, I just had a whole session about this yesterday, is that I'm working with a woman, she's very judgmental, because the worst judgment is inward. Boy, she's meaner to herself than she would ever allow anyone to be mean to anyone else on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, so mean to herself, but then of course it comes through as judgment of other people. And she was talking about this conversation that she was in, and it was like pretty frivolous, like very surface, frivolous. It was about Botox, and she's not a Botox person. And so how could she connect with these people? What they must be, because they're talking about Botox.
Yeah.
And helping her to understand, like, okay, why would they talk to you about anything of their, like, deep intimacy when they don't know you? Like, for them in that group, Botox is a safe conversation, apparently.
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, what was I supposed to say? And I was like, well, the antidote, for me at least, to judgment is always curiosity. When you are curious in a relationship, that is like the lifeblood of relationships. And so, and she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I would start asking, like, when did you first decide to get Botox? Where did you get the Botox? How did it feel afterward? How long did it last? Were you happy with the results? What were your concerns going in? Like, there's a million questions you could ask about literally, like, anything. There's really not that much to it, but and that would foster connection. So judgment is like the ultimate cutoff.
Yes.
Whereas curiosity is like, ooh, tell me more. I want to connect with you.
Yes.
And I really see that in long-term relationships, whether married or just partnered. We lose curiosity about each other.
Yeah.
We think, first of all, part of it is we are so bored by our own daily life that we stop sharing.
Yeah.
Because, our life is ordinary to us.
Yeah.
You know, and especially I see this a lot with young, not young mothers, but mothers of young children. We're like, every day is the same day. And you're like, oh my God, this is so boring. I can't even like listen to my thoughts because they're so boring. And so we stop sharing.
Yeah.
And then we also, we think we already know everything about our partner. You know, like I was saying before, like I've been married 19 years. Part of what allows us to stay interested in each other is that we don't have the belief that we already know everything about each other.
Wow. Yeah.
How could I possibly know? I mean, listen, I know a lot. I can, you know.
Yeah. You know a lot.
We sit down, you know, for dinner at a restaurant and it's like, we can definitely order for each other. You know? But, you know, this idea of I already know everything about you is completely negated in my mind by the idea of like, I am still becoming. Like I am in the process. I am not who I was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's, you know, my core values and stuff, a lot of that is the same, but a lot of that is like, well, I wasn't a mom 20 years ago, so I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Exactly. I'm here 20 years ago, or 20 years
until I had kids. And you're like, oh. But, you know, so, and that's in all relationships. So if you lose curiosity about the person, the relationship, it's almost like there's no gas in the tank. And so, you know, in strengthening the friendship in the relationship, that's how you keep the love going.
Yeah.
You think back to it, like, remember the first time that you know, had long conversations with a prospective romantic partner, and you'd be, I mean, granted, this is like dating ourselves because I keep saying phone, but we would be on the phone, you'd be on the phone for like hours and hours of like, oh my God, everything you say is fascinating. I mean, I used to ask my husband, what did you have for lunch every day? Every day it was a turkey sandwich. And every day I would ask him, what did you have for lunch? Because I truly, you know, cared. Yeah. I don't ask him about what he has for lunch anymore, frankly, because they're just more important things that I need to know about what's going on. Yes. Obviously. Yeah. But, you know, letting go of the assumptions and allowing for curiosity builds connection. It builds room for communication. Because if you know everything, why would you even have the conversation? Right? Yeah. Like, turn on a TV show and sit there and watch it together, and that's your basis for connection. Yeah. I always say, you know, I tell couples, here are some questions that you need to know. Who are the major players in my spouse's life right now? So that could be the boss driving you crazy, the client that, you know, the deal you can't close, the client that's really difficult, the, you know, meeting that went awry, the kid's friend who was disrespectful to you, you know, who are the major players going on in your life right now? And what are some upcoming or recent important events? So knowing like, right, I know he's really trying to close that deal by, you know, end of business today. And the reason why you need to know that is so that you can ask. Yes. Later. Yes. So if you don't know the major players and you don't know some events coming up, or you don't know, you know, what is my partner really worried about right now? And you don't know the right questions to ask, and you don't know how to connect. And so this is what happens. I see this with a ton of my couples that I work with, is that by the end of the day, you're so tired. Yeah. Like you're just nothing left in the tank. And so if you have nothing left in the tank and you have no point of reference that, oh my God, right, I was going to ask you about that thing, the doctor's appointment, the haircut, it doesn't have to be like a monumental thing, then you don't have the energy to come up with something. And so you just like lay on a piece of furniture and watch a screen. Yeah. Basically. And so that's the thing. If you know, like, and it's even like, is there a decision my partner is wrestling with right now? It doesn't have to be a big decision. It could be like, did you decide to color your hair? It doesn't, you know, it's not like, burning to duty. To ask. It's more of like being up to date and making when you know the questions to ask, and that you'll get more detail and it will become more interesting. Now, it doesn't always work. I mean, there's definitely times with, with me or my husband where I'm like, I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Thank you for remembering, but like
I'm good.
right now, I just
yeah.
But when you have this atmosphere of curiosity, you're playful.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that in, because I think it's just this undervalued, underrated, so important tool to just be curious, no matter what the relationship, it just. And so I think, okay, so you start with values. Like, I think I so believe, like, really knowing ourselves in the values, and then being able to pause, being able to shift the perspective, and then being curious.
And know
who you go.
you feel great around and who do you feel drained.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, you don't have to be like a woo-woo energy person to understand, like, oh, I left that I was with this person for an hour. I feel amazing. I was with that person for an hour, and I suddenly need to like have more coffee.
Yeah. Yes. Totally.
That's a clue.
Yeah.
It's just you end a relationship, but it made me have to adjust things so that it's not such a drain.
Yeah. Well, and I think about your friend too, like in your November, like in a different circumstance, that same, like a different person who's late all the time might be someone that you decide, I'm going to start saying no to. Like, there's different value, we have different connections if you're always drained. Clearly after she arrives, you feel like you get filled up by this relationship. So it's like, I can navigate this piece. But if it was just drained every time she left and she was always late, here's your November.
Thank you. I'm not going to reach out to you to go to lunch. I'm going to reach out to you. I'm not inviting you to the dinner party.
Yeah.
If we can't serve dinner because you're always late.
Yes.
So, it's.
Yeah.
And again, I think a lot of people think that boundaries are hard. They're hard. They feel guilt, basically. Like, they think that no is something that they should feel guilty about. And so that's what I talk about with the no in November. I'm like, you should never feel guilty about saying no, because no is basically saying yes to more important things.
Yes.
So whether the no, the classic example of, it's your kid's school bake sale. You could bake a cake like from scratch, and if it is your joy and pleasure to bake a cake from scratch, I mean, you go. You filthy up your kitchen. Have a good time. But for most other people, like, the idea of your kid saying to you at 6 o'clock in the evening, "Oh, right, Mom, we need a cake for the bake sale." That is not good news.
No.
That's not what you plan to do at all. So you could either bake the cake from scratch, being super resentful.
Yes.
Or you could be like, you know what? I'm going to support a local business, our bakery. I'm going to buy, a nut-free cake or donut or whatever it is, and we'll make just as much money. And then you have, with that no, you can say yes to, like, either actually spending time with your kid or being so annoyed with your kid that you get to, like, not hang out with your kid because you have the time. And so instead of, like, fostering this sense of resentment, simple no means, wow, I get to not feel resentful, which is a total energy drain, and I get to, like, do something that's more important to me.
Maybe I'll take some of it out of his allowance because he didn't tell me till 6 o'clock at night.
Could be.
There's no communication, man. Wow, Melissa, thank you. This has been good. Yeah, it's I like the kind of broad and the little pieces that you're bringing in. It's really helpful. I think just the values and like resentment and like owning that and being curious.
It can be tough to say, like, wow, I am super judgmental about this person right now.
Yeah.
Or, wow, I am angry about something that happened 3 weeks ago, and that person has no idea I'm even mad.
Yeah.
Like, I am really mad, and I am giving them the silent treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm blaming them for something I don't even know.
How did you not notice that I haven't called you?
Yeah. Because I have a life going on.
And they have no idea that you're mad. Yeah. They're probably thinking like, oh, she must be really busy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's
wow. Yeah, it's good stuff. These are good conversations. We don't have enough.
I mean, obviously, I can talk about this for like a month straight.
Yes. Well, we don't have a month, unfortunately, but tell everybody about the free gift you have for them.
No one can pay attention that long anyway.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, share your free gift, what that's about.
So I have developed a quiz called for romantic relationships called the Relationship Pulse Quiz. And basically it's an online quiz. You take it and it gives you some results that you are either like, you know, positive or neutral or negative, and maybe you need to do some work. And so really the beauty of the quiz is it brings awareness. It asks you some questions that you're like, oh, I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah.
And so it's really an awareness tool.
Okay.
So that it's like taking your temperature, like, oh, maybe I need to work on a couple of things. Because, you know, my work with couples, I absolutely love working with couples, but you know, sometimes they just wait too long.
Just thinking that, yeah.
And like it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I wish I could say that like I can help, you know, save your marriage, but it's like, oh no, you let 6 years go by.
Yeah.
That's you can't undo.
Love the idea. Yeah, like take the test once a year or every couple of years just to keep, I love the idea, the pulse. And so, because people wait way too long, and
absolutely.
You know, can often be unrepairable. But if you get it, you're like, oh, we're hitting a little middle ground, you know, or we're just a little, it's like, oh, well, let's maybe do something now while we still maybe like each other.
Yeah, or even some of the questions will make you look at things in your interaction and be like, you know, that thing that I thought was acceptable, maybe it's not.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
we can do better than that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do better than just like, you know, flopping on the couch. And
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. That's awesome. That's and that link will be in the email that you get this video in. So we'll have that available to everybody in the email. Thank you, Melissa. It was great to be with you.
It was great talking to you. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm really happy to spread the love.
Great. Thank you. And have a great day, everybody. And we'll have more interviews coming tomorrow. Bye for now.